2025, I'm targeting Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua looks to be imminent for this year, as I kind of thought it would be. According to Eddie Hearn anyway, I've just seen an article in Boxing Scene that says Anthony Joshua to next fight Tyson Fury or Daniel Dubois, says Eddie Hearn. So when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking Daniel Dubois, that rematch isn't likely to be next on Anthony Joshua's radar because I believe that he does need to have a fight before he fights Daniel Dubois again. He needs to have some sort of comeback fight. And if the comeback fight is against Tyson Fury, that's even more exciting than I thought. He seems to be more serious than I thought. Going into, or should I say, coming out of that Daniel Dubois fight, my thoughts were Anthony Joshua wasn't serious. He didn't seem serious. He didn't come across serious in that fight. So for me, it's kind of hard to determine which version of Anthony Joshua you're going to actually get in the ring on the night. Let me read this Boxing Scene article and go back into some of this information that I found out about Anthony Joshua and his boxing future going forward. Eddie Hearn expects Anthony Joshua to return to the ring in the summer against Tyson Fury or in a rematch with Daniel Dubois. The 35-year-old Joshua has kept a low profile since being stopped by Dubois at London's Wembley Stadium in September. An imminent rematch had seemed to be the likeliest outcome because it represented the IBF heavyweight champion Dubois' most lucrative option. But Joshua's apparent reluctance to risk further undermining his prospects of finally fighting Fury contributed to Dubois agreeing on February the 22nd to fight Joseph Parker instead. Fury's defeat in December to Alexander Usyk, and therefore the reality that they will not fight for a third time, has made an overdue contest between he and Joshua considerably likelier. He remains an unpredictable character, however, making Dubois, and not an alternative opponent as had previously been suggested, Joshua's other option. AJ's looking for a fight in May, June time. Hearn, his longtime promoter, told Boxing Scene. For me, there's only really two fights. One is the Dubois rematch and the other is Tyson Fury. There's no bigger fight in boxing commercially than AJ Fury. People hate me saying that. Tell me a bigger fight. Commercially, it doesn't exist. Maybe now, with everybody getting on a little bit, we might be able to be sensible and get it made. But he also wants to rematch Dubois. Hearn of Matchroom, and therefore in Australia's Gold Coast for Jai Opataya, David Naika, was then asked if that meant that they were waiting for the outcome of Dubois Parker before making their next move. And he responded, unless Frank Warren and Spencer Brown came on and said, come on, let's make Fury. But I don't anticipate Fury talking boxing business in the next couple of months. I just don't see it. At the end of the day, he's going to have January off, isn't he? February, and then what else are we going to do? You're either going to pack it in or fight AJ. The Fury fight is so big that you always expect it to happen. But listen, Dubois has got to beat Parker yet, and I don't think he will. Joshua has previously responded to defeats by changing his training team. But asked if he expected his leading fighter to continue to work under Ben Davidson, Hearn said, yeah, he didn't get it right that night, but he's had a couple of great fights with him. He's happy and I don't see him changing. So Eddie Hearn is talking about Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury happening this year. I believe that's what he's going to do next. He doesn't like to have fights where he lessens his opponent down to guys with losing records and stuff like that, or guys with multiple losses on their record or stuff like that. He wants to keep fighting at that high end of the heavyweight division, which keeps him relevant, which keeps him exciting, to be fair to you. And he's in, well, I don't know if he's still there, but he was in Nigeria on just a trip back to the motherland to go and check his people, check his family and such like. And over there, he's obviously mixing with the aristocracy of the land. And he's been interviewed and asked questions and such like about what he's going to do going forward and so on and so forth. And someone asked him about a fight that's coming up between Martin Bakole and F.A. Ajagba and who he thinks will win. And I always think that it's a bit of a tough one for boxers that are actually relevant in their weight class to give opinions on fights that are coming up, because it can always leave a sour taste in the person's mouth that they didn't choose, basically. And this is what happened in this case. They asked him who he thinks will win out of F.A. Ajagba and Martin Bakole, and Anthony Joshua's response was, two giants of Africa coming together to collide. It's going to be an interesting fight. FA is a good boxer, and obviously I'm going to support FA even if he doesn't support me. He had a bit of humour to that. He wasn't being totally serious. He was kind of joking. But there's truth in jest. But anyway, I'm backing him because we're from the same place, and I really want to see him do well. I mean, that's all he said. He didn't say anything bad against Martin Bakole, but I've noticed over the years that Martin Bakole is always wanting to fight Anthony Joshua. He's never got anything nice to say about Anthony Joshua. He says he's going to knock him out in one round and stuff like that. And when he heard these comments, he's gone mad and he's put all these posts up on social media with a video of him just cussing out Anthony Joshua and saying he wants to fight him, wants to knock him out, wants to beat him up, da-da-da-da-da. At the end of the day, I do appreciate rivalries, and I do appreciate that in boxing you're supposed to not be happy with the opponent. And if he's not an opponent, there's no need to be vexed with him. But at the same time, you know, if you want to keep the energy of being vexed all the time, then that's good, that's fine. This is a combat sport. There's no niceties in this situation. Even though it's a gentleman's sport, it's a brutal sport. Brutality is the name of the game in this sport. So having an axe to grind against somebody is cool. And Martin Bakole's always had an axe to grind against Anthony Joshua. He's got a lot of sparring stories about how he's hurt all of these guys in sparring. Usyk, Joshua, Dubois. The only person he hasn't said anything against is Tyson Fury in sparring. Everyone else has always got some story about how he's done them in sparring, knocked man out in sparring, bust man's face in sparring, open man's eye in sparring, all of this sparring stories and such like. But he's not getting the fights because he seems to be being avoided. He beats people up, he knocks people out, and he hurts people. He's very cumbersome, he's very much static, but he's heavy-handed. So even though he's not got great movement, once he plants his feet and throws his heavy shots at you, most of the time people are getting knocked out. He's knocking out people that are supposed to be beating him. Tony Yoka was supposed to beat him when he turned pro. He knocked him out in the first round. Jared Anderson was supposed to beat him the other day, and he knocked out Jared Anderson. And then since then, fighters have been pulling out of fights that are supposed to be against him. Ajit Kabayel and Zile Zhang, I think. The heavyweights don't seem to want to fight him at the moment. High risk, low reward. He's got this F.A. Ajagba fight. I haven't seen any official posters or any official news that this fight is going to happen and where it's going to happen and so on and so forth. But apparently that's Martin Bakole's next fight. But he's got this bee in the bonnet for Anthony Joshua. But Anthony Joshua isn't even looking in his direction per se. He was asked a question and he answered it and gave his opinion. And it's not like he's saying, I'm picking F.A. Ajagba because I think he's a better fighter. It's like, I'm picking F.A. Ajagba because we're from the same place. I get that. It's fine. It's like, I'm struggling to pick. Who can I pick? Well, let me just pick the man that's from my ends. That's fine. Martin Bakole's from Congo. He's Congolese. F.A. Ajagba is from Nigeria. And in the comment that he made, he actually bigged up both opponents. He said, two giants of Africa coming together to collide. What is wrong with you? But anyway, that's fine. It's good to see some anger, animosity in boxing. That's what keeps the sport interesting. But I can't see Martin Bakole versus Anthony Joshua ever happening, to be fair. Anthony Joshua is basically at the end of his career. He's only really looking for two fights. It sounds to me as he's only looking to fight two opponents, which is Tyson Fury and Daniel Dubois. If Daniel Dubois doesn't have the title when he fights him, if he fights him in a rematch, I'm sure Anthony Joshua will then try to go for a title fight once again. And if Martin Bakole beats F.A. Ajagba, it's an IBF eliminator, so then that would make him be in line for the winner of Joseph Parker versus Daniel Dubois, which he then can pick up a title, and Anthony Joshua can then look to fight him because he will have the IBF title, the first title that Anthony Joshua won. He might want to fight him then. But until that happens, I can't see Anthony Joshua and Martin Bakole ever getting in the ring. But anyway, we're talking about Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. I believe it will happen this year. Eddie Hearn believes that it will happen this year. And Anthony Joshua says
2025, I'm targeting Tyson Fury.
so. We're going to watch this space, see what happens going forward. And I will see you guys in the next video.